get over how I look with the red. Like, I was like, who the fuck is that on this side of the camera? Whatever.
Guys.
Hello.
Welcome to Spook-Tober week 2. And if you can't tell, we actually dressed up more this week.
I don't think they can tell. My hair looks very natural.
Yeah. If you couldn't tell, Kristen dyed her hair red. It's super natural.
Very natural.
If
It's a natural
do
red.
say so myself.
It's very natural.
Looks good. Looks good.
Oh, thanks.
But who can tell who we are? Probably actually like just from our torsos.
Torsos up.
And makeup.
Again, if you're not watching this on Spotify or on the YouTube channel, this makes less sense. But for those who are not watching the videos, do you want to tell them who we are, Claire?
Yes. So I feel like the mic is now blocking this, so it doesn't even matter. Hold on.
Fit check.
Yeah. You can kind of see half green, half black. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dark upper lip should give it away. But I'm trying to be Shigo from Kim Possible.
Yes.
Which means...
I am Kim Possible.
Wow.
In case the bright red hair that is much brighter than hers, but we're not going to talk about that. And the black turtleneck icon and the also dark upper lip. So, yeah.
Welcome back. We are the Midnight Memo. And in spirit of Spook-Tober,
I want to put like lightning in right here. Like,
I'll try. No promises. A little bit above my pay grade, if you will. I hope you are enjoying your morning, afternoon, evening with us here. And in the spirit of Spook-Tober, talking more about Halloween. But in tonight's episode, because we're going to be talking about Halloween and all of that stuff, I kind of wanted to start out with a conversation with like, what was one of the Halloween activities when you were younger, like little tot age, that like was one of your favorites?
I feel like you're hinting at trick-or-treating, but I don't know if that's like the answer you're looking for.
I mean, like it can be trick-or-treating.
Okay, I was like, is this a multiple choice question? Or is
No,
this...
very open-ended question. We kind of talked about haunted houses last week, but there are a lot of other Halloween activities.
As a kid, mine was definitely dressing up. Like I like candy, but I only liked chocolate as a kid. So I would get really sad if they gave me any like Skittles or anything else. I would get really sad about that. So trick-or-treating wasn't quite as fun because it was 50-50 whether or not it was going to be chocolate. So it was dressing up. That was like peak for me.
Gotcha.
What about you?
I think also like dressing up, going trick-or-treating around my neighborhood, because we had a lot of neighbors who would also dress up and like walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So we had one dad who would like dress up in like head to toe, like big scary thing. Yeah. But I mean, since you did say trick-or-treating, tonight it's kind of a different episode than what we usually do, because we usually talk about just like thoughts that will keep us up at night or topics that have been like on our minds for the last week. But because we're doing Halloween, I wanted to do a little bit of like a true crime story. And so the case I'm going to be covering today is called The Candyman.
I'm so excited.
And listen, I tried to do my best with research. If you're watching the videos...
She wrote a whole doc, you guys.
Yeah.
It was really cute.
If you're watching the videos, I have the notes in front of me. I researched a lot, so I will have all the links down in the description below if you want to read up on it at all. But I did get most of this information off of Murderpedia. So,
nice.
Like we were saying, trick-or-treating is probably one of the best Halloween activities to do when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Because obviously you love sugar, you want to get hyped up on Halloween, and it is a really weird concept to think about, though.
Like you dress up and then people have to give you candy.
Yeah, you go to strangers' houses and just have...
Stranger danger exists every day of the year except for on Halloween.
Yeah, there's this weird sense of trust that you're supposed to have on Halloween, where it's like, I will just accept candy from you, from a complete stranger.
Don't take candy from strangers, kids, except for on
Halloween.
Yeah.
And it's like basically a perfect time to kind of
commit murder.
Yeah, like it leaves the door open because people don't really question it on Halloween. So you can basically give children things that they're not really necessarily supposed to have. So if you're going out trick-or-treating, you're getting candies from strangers, you have something in your trick-or-treating bag that you're not necessarily supposed to have, you're like, oh, a stranger gave this to me, or a neighbor gave this to me, right?
Okay, right.
But you would never expect that it would be from someone you trusted.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you where you got something weird in your trick-or-treating bag that you weren't supposed to get?
No, but I do remember, I don't know if your parents did this, but my parents, at the end of the night when we got our candy, we would have to dump out our bags, and our parents would check it to make sure it was okay, to make sure they were all like still like sealed candies and they were not tampered and like messed with. I didn't know that at the time, but I do remember my parents being like, don't eat any of the candy until we get like home and I can check it. And I was always like, why? Like, if you want to check it like right now as I'm about to eat it, if we were like walking around, and they're like, no, just like wait. And then they would try to bribe me, and they'll be like, oh, wait till you get home so you can trade with your brother like for candies that you won. And I was like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna wait. But it was for them so they could check it.
Yeah, which is a smart move.
Right. I know now, like, being an adult who watches true crime, I'm like, that makes so much sense. But as a kid, I was like, that's stupid. Why do you need to check my candy?
Yeah. But then again, like, you trust your parents, right? To keep you safe from something weird that you would see.
Right.
You don't expect them to put it
dun, dun, dun.
into your trick-or-treating bag.
Claire, I feel like you're setting up for something.
Oh my God. A matter of fact.
Tell me more.
So this is the case of Ronald Clark O'Brien and the murder of his son, Timothy, on Halloween 1974.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
that's only 50 years ago.
Right? So it's kind of weird to think
it's in our parents' lifetimes. Like, that's so crazy. That's so crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to just refer to him as O'Brien from now on. So there wasn't much to say about O'Brien beforehand. Like, there wasn't much about his past. So growing up, we don't know a lot. Okay. But from the time of the murder, all we know is that he was living in Deer Park, Texas, which is like a smaller neighborhood near Houston.
Okay.
With his wife, Daynene. I think I'm saying that right.
Daynene. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daynene.
Daynene.
Daynene. Sorry. But he was living with his wife and their two children, so Timothy and then Elizabeth. Okay. And Timothy, I believe, was 8 years old, and Elizabeth 5 years old.
Okay.
So, from what I could find, it does seem like even today the population of Deer Park is 34,000. So 50 years ago, probably half the size.
Yeah.
It was a small community.
Yeah.
And
definitely a know your neighbor type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was an optician in Houston and was involved with the Second Baptist Church, where he was part of the choir.
Of course.
And the leader of a local bus program. During this time, while he was employed and was part of the church and all of that stuff.
Sounds like relatively involved. Like he's...
Yeah. And so while he was involved in like those two things, he was also having a lot of financial problems.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think when you have financial problems, it can push you to do some crazy things.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So
people get weird for money.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, you can't take it with you. So
yeah. Logic, you're speaking logic, but
yeah. And I don't know, like, how open are you talking about finances
in general? Not great, truthfully.
Right? And I think that's in like American society. I think at least now in today's time, we aren't as open about talking about our personal financial status, or like how much we're getting paid or not getting paid, or when we're going through financial struggles.
Yeah.
Like, it's not open conversation with people that you're not like close with. Like, not like, you probably will talk about it with family members or whatnot, but say like, if you're an acquaintance, I'm not going to tell you my financial situation.
Yeah. But I don't feel like that's an absurd statement. Like, why would you? There's a lot of things I wouldn't tell an acquaintance, you know?
Yeah.
So I also feel like that's not absurd.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's not absurd for us to not talk about it.
Yeah.
But for O'Brien here, he was very open about his financial situation.
Oh,
like he was
interesting.
He was telling everyone
that he was struggling.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Everyone and their mother knew that he was having issues paying bills and debts, which I guess his job wasn't bringing in the bucks. Everyone's eyes, they were seeing 2020. They didn't need an audition. But
maybe that's why he's broke.
Yeah.
See through that bullshit.
Yeah. Everyone's like, bitch, I see you. You would think, right?
Yeah.
So he was talking about it with friends, with acquaintances, saying like, oh, I am struggling so bad. Like
I feel like when you're that open about it, you're telling people for a purpose.
Right.
Like to entice some type of sympathy. Like I feel like you wouldn't go around like, not bragging, but like giving out that information for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with O'Brien, he wasn't asking for sympathy per se, but he would leave it off weirdly with, but don't worry, I'm going to come into money very soon. I expect money by the end of the year, so don't worry. Even though we're in major debt, we haven't paid our bills, we're in such financial distress right now that we were forced to sell our house. But don't worry, I'm coming into money soon.
That's either very narcissistic or like,
that means like you're working on something, obviously, right? Like,
you're scheming something.
How are you coming into money?
You're either delusional and you have some type of blind faith where you're deluded into it. I feel like.
Yeah. But he said O'Brien believed, even though he was going through all these financial issues, forced to sell his house, he reassured people he was going to come into money by the end of the year. Which, again, like to have a deadline. Yeah. It's sus. For sure.
Hella sus.
He was doing things that were so like, now looking back on it 50 years later, we're like,
right.
No one said anything. No one thought that was weird. I don't know.
What? Besides the just saying that he's going to have money.
So we're looking in the month of August 1974.
Okay, right.
So O'Brien started asking around his place of work where he could find cyanide. Is that strange?
If anyone came up to me and asked where they could find poison,
and I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, okay, he's an optician. Is there any place that you would use cyanide?
Like in his practice?
In his practice, in his field.
No.
Has cyanide ever been used for something medically? Like, I was trying to, really
trying to help this guy out.
Yeah, I was like, listen, it was like when you are doing a bad decision and your friend had just like, your friend is there with you, like she knows you're doing something bad, but she will back you up no matter what. That was me trying to find like, okay, dig through the bullshit. See, is there any saving grace?
I love that you were thinking about his like actual practice. I was trying to like just even generalize it, and I'm like, maybe he has a rat problem,
Yeah,
and like needs to get like maybe some other practical purpose and
quote unquote practical
in his life. I didn't even think about for his actual job, that because at least for his job then it would quote quote make sense, but I was even like, is there a normal socially acceptable reason why you need cyanide? And I was like, maybe for a rat problem or something like that. But even then I feel like you would just hire an exterminator at that point. Like you won't go searching. Like, I don't care how budget friendly you're trying to be. You're not just going to go around asking people, like, can I have poison? Oh, it's for my rats.
Yeah. Like, and the crazy thing is that, like, no one was like, that was weird that he asked me about cyanide today.
Yeah.
Like, so they were just like, okay, I'm going to say no, but, like, not going to report.
Good luck. Good luck with that, dude.
Yeah. And so, because he didn't find at work, he moved on. But
moved on to what?
In September 1974, so a month later, or within the next month, O'Brien reached out to a friend of his who worked at Arco Chemical Company, and the two of them discussed the varieties and availability of different cyanides.
There's multiple. Oh my God.
Yeah, which is a new thing to me. I was like, I thought there was only one cyanide.
I thought cyanide was just cyanide.
Yeah. But apparently there are varieties.
Oh my gosh. If this person that he's talking to is a chemist of some degree, it's his professional conversation, but still if my mom started asking me for coding advice, I would be like, why? The conversation does not match the audience.
Yeah.
So the fact that, yeah, his random buddy who is not also a chemist is asking him about poison definitely should have set off a red flag.
Yeah. Hello. If you're hearing this, that means we have found a break in our trains of thought. I know. Kind of crazy, like our podcast isn't chaotic or something like that. Anyway, this week we have a sponsor for this episode, and our sponsor is Newsly. And you're probably wondering, what is Newsly? Well, Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. So you can stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd want, from sports to business to Bitcoin or even the Kardashians. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast, The Midnight Memo, will be there too. So make sure to check them out, download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link we have down in our description. You can also use the promo code TMM for 1 month of free premium subscription. That is right. So make sure to go check us out on the Newsly app. You will not regret it. And now back to the podcast. So yeah, it's a weird conversation to be having. And like the fact that it doesn't seem like he's making it very like hidden.
Yeah, he's not trying to be like stealth about it.
Yeah, like he just talked to all of his coworkers about it, talked to his friend about it.
The 70s was a weird time where I feel like
True,
I feel like people were just like, that's the way they are. But this is us being 50 years later, not living in the context just from what we read, see, passively like observe of these stories, right? But I'm like, this didn't sit wrong with any of you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So reportedly, after talking to his friend who worked at this chemical company, he then went back to his coworkers and like started talking about it more. At this point,
yeah. One, he asked you, okay, great. Two, he's coming back with knowledge and talking more about it. Like now you know it wasn't like, oh, I needed this for a simple fix. Like this is an interest. And if you're interested in poison and not a chemist, I feel like that falls in the red flags category.
Yeah. Exactly.
One would
it's
think.
Weird. You would think. Yeah.
The flag should be as red as this hair. Let me just tell you.
Oh my God. I did see a video where it's like, yeah, I'm a red flag, but you can't tell me that the quality of this material isn't great.
Oh my God. I love that.
Anyway.
Damn. I need to use that later. Storing.
So moving to before Halloween. So before Halloween, O'Brien took a little field trip to Curtin Matheson Scientific Company, which was a chemical outlet in Houston. First of all,
why is there a chemical outlet that's accessible to the public? Again,
that's what I
if
was
it's
thinking.
For the chemist's friend, this makes sense. The profession matches the audience. But to just have like
I love
having an outlet mall of poison.
That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, is there just like there's like a JCPenney's, a Macy's, a chemical outlet?
That's what I'm picturing. Like, what the fuck? Like, what?
I have no idea. Okay, Houston. I mean, people who live in Houston.
Everything's bigger in Texas, right? But like, your chemical plants need to be that big? Like, come on, explain to me this.
Yeah. People in Houston, let us know. Are there more chemical outlets over there?
Yeah, riddle me that. Please and thanks.
I have no idea. But O'Brien did find out that this company did in fact have cyanide, but only in very large quantities, which
of course
makes sense because if it is a scientific company, a chemical outlet, they're probably selling to manufacturers.
Right.
Which obviously the manufacturers and like retailers, they buy in bulk.
Right.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So he was like, okay, I found cyanide, but like, do you sell it in smaller amounts? And so I don't know who the contact was at the outlet, but he was trying to, like, they were talking about trying to find a way to buy cyanide in a smaller amount. But there is no confirmation that this plant actually sold O'Brien a smaller amount of cyanide, or if O'Brien or
got
where
it from
O'Brien
someone else.
found it another way. But
a conversation was had.
Cyanide was acquired. We don't know where from.
Yeah.
At least I did not read anything about. I mean, to be honest, the Murderpedia website was very long and I didn't want to read through all of it. So
it's possible we know, but we don't know.
Yeah. So now we fast forward to Halloween night, 1974. O'Brien took his 2 kids trick-or-treating with one of their neighbors and the neighbor's 2 kids.
Okay.
So the neighbor was Jim Bates.
Okay.
So I'll just refer to him as Bates. And Bates had O'Brien and his children over for dinner Halloween night before they went out trick-or-treating. So that's why they were all together. And the group started trick-or-treating.
It's so sad because it sounds so wholesome. It's like, oh yeah, I just had my neighbor over for dinner and now we're gonna go trick-or-treating. No big deal, no big sitch. Like, and it's just the beginning of the end. And like, we know how this is gonna end because it's a true crime murder story, but like, oh.
Yeah, so the group of them started trick-or-treating, and Bates had reported that when the kids went up to the actual doors of like the people's houses, he would stay back on the sidewalk while O'Brien and the kids would go up to the door to get candy.
Oh, so the adults were split up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like usually that wouldn't be like crazy, and like even if you're the parent on the sidewalk, like you kind of see what's happening. And like in this situation, I think Bates probably
just
like
trusted him enough to be like, oh, they're with they're with O'Brien, whatever.
There's an adult
they're
there,
right
so.
there. Yeah.
And according to Bates, the group had approached a house whose door was kind of concealed by a wall of sorts. So like I don't understand that.
And especially like I'm trying to think as a parent, so already that's foreign. But if I were to go up to a house as I'm trick-or-treating and I just can't see the door, I'd be like, all right, take my loss and just keep moving. Like I wouldn't.
Yeah. So reportedly, Bates said that nobody answered the door, and so the children, obviously being children on Halloween, if no one's going to answer and give you candy, you move on to the next house.
Yeah.
So the group of the kids, they kind of run to the next house.
Right.
But O'Brien didn't go with them right away, which is kind of weird. So it's like Bates is standing on the sidewalk. He sees the group of kids kind of run to the next house. O'Brien doesn't follow.
Yeah.
But then O'Brien appeared 30 seconds later. So it wasn't like right after. Like it wasn't like he was just lagging behind the kids. He was gone for 30 seconds, which isn't a long time, but it sure enough isn't like a good amount of time to like just not follow your kids on Halloween.
Yeah.
Especially when
feels like
reportedly
a weird time pocket.
Yeah, especially when reportedly no one was home.
Yeah, right.
So you're just like, okay, so why are you waiting 30 seconds to follow your kids?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he appeared 30 seconds later from behind the wall with 5 straws, about 20 inches long, and they were filled with sugar. So
a pixie stick.
Pixie sticks. Yeah. Honestly, I loved pixie sticks.
This makes so much. I was terrified of pixie sticks because my parents. I'm pretty sure this is why my parents told me I was not allowed to have pixie sticks as a kid. I didn't have a pixie stick until like high school.
I loved pixie
I
sticks.
Did not have one until like high school.
That's crazy.
I don't remember if they ever said anything specific, or if they just were like, "You can't have one," and I was like, "Okay." But I remember having a fear of them. I don't. This is probably why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere along the line, someone has told me this story then.
Yeah. I mean, also though, did you ever have Fun Dip growing up?
No.
Oh my God. Fun Dip was so good.
I didn't understand
it was
the
just
appeal
pure
of that, truthfully.
Sugar and a piece
It was
of
a
chalk.
sugar brick. Yeah, it was a chalk sugar brick that you dipped in powdered sugar.
God.
And then you ate the sugar dipped in sugar.
I was a crackhead, okay?
You are a crackhead still.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but pixie sticks. So O'Brien had claimed that the family actually did come to the door and they gave him the pixie sticks.
Like, okay, listen, if that's true, 30 seconds makes sense. If literally is the only way this makes sense is if as soon as the kids like cut their losses, they left, and then just like, you know, like literally you just missed someone, like so like just as the kids turned off, the people came to the door and were like, oh my gosh, hi, yeah, oh wait, we do have stuff for you, run and go get it, and then gave it to O'Brien.
Yeah.
Like, and that should have been a quick interaction, 30 seconds, minute max.
Yeah.
So it's still possible. Obviously, I don't think so, based off of where this story is gonna head, but could have maybe happened.
Yeah. So he was covering his ass pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But can we guess where the cyanide went? Anyone? Any guesses?
Where could it have gone?
Yeah. It's like Dora. Do you know where the cyanide went?
Glowing pixie stick.
Why only give us 5?
Yeah, why 5? Why did he have 5? Why did we pick 5?
The answer to the question will come.
Okay.
Very shortly.
Interested.
Yes. But Bates, he said that O'Brien had ran up to the children and kind of like waving the pixie sticks in the air. Like, oh my God, our rich neighbors, they're passing out expensive treats, like kind of bragging.
Yeah.
What was interesting about this was that after he was like waving them around, kind of bragging about these expensive treats, he didn't let the kids hold them. He said, oh, I'll hold them for you.
Unless they're the jumbo pixie sticks, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but they were reportedly like
3-footer ones.
20 inches.
Okay, so like, wait, 20 inches is still pretty long.
Yeah, I don't know. 20 inches? That's really big.
That's a penis joke.
Thank you, Kristen.
In case you didn't get that.
Yeah, but he did not let the kids hold the pixie sticks at all. So he said, I'll hold them. Like, I volunteered to hold them, but just know, like, these are yours.
Sus.
So, yeah, kind of weird, but okay. Once trick-or-treating was over, O'Brien kind of distributed the pixie sticks to 5 children. So his 2 kids, Bates' 2 kids, and then he gave one away randomly to a trick-or-treater that came up to the house.
Okay.
And after the Halloween trick-or-treating festivities ended, O'Brien took his children back to their house. So now we're looking at O'Brien and his family. Okay. So they've kind of separated from Bates in that family. So when O'Brien came home with his 2 kids, the wife reportedly had left to go to a friend's house to either hang out or go to a party. It's Halloween night. Yeah. Not weird. And now it's just him and his kids in the house. Right. And so he started getting ready for bed, and it seems like a pretty tame night. Yeah. And so I think a lot of parents do this, but they say, you know, right before bed, you can have 1 piece of candy. Yeah. So choose pick your poison. Yeah. Oh, but no. And Timothy took this a little too seriously. And so Timothy chose the pixie stick.
Of course.
Yeah. But he couldn't get it open. So O'Brien was helping him. He was opening it with his hands. Okay. And then
interesting how this is emphasized so much too. Yeah. Yeah, for the jumbo pixie sticks that we would get, I remember like cutting them open. But I guess that would be sus behavior. Someone tried to like open a jumbo pixie stick by hand to me, but
I have no idea.
I don't know.
So once he got it open, Timothy started eating the pixie stick, and he had said that the candy had a bitter taste. So
you're not even gonna hide your cyanide.
So what did O'Brien do in response? Oh, it's fine. I'll just give you Kool-Aid to wash it down.
Okay.
What?
Just okay.
Okay. Yeah. And so almost immediately, Timothy got really sick. He started throwing up, vomiting uncontrollably to the point where he started having convulsions.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And O'Brien called the ambulance. And
that's the most reasonable thing he's done all night.
Yeah. Which I feel like it's one of those like weird like angel of darkness things where it's like you cause the pain to then be
trying to save it. Yeah.
To be like either recognized for stepping in and being like the hero of a situation, which like what?
That you caused.
Yeah. Yeah. But Timothy was rushed to the hospital where unfortunately he passed away only an hour later. And the doctors reported that they had found cyanide within Timothy's stomach contents and within his blood. The levels that they had found were way above the lethal human dose. So, however much O'Brien put into the pixie stick.
Yeah, he was like freaking cracking it on.
He was either didn't talk about it enough and didn't do enough research, or it was very intentional that he wanted.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because why would he want Timothy dead?
Yeah.
Well,
with so much drive too of it. That's sus.
Going back to his financial burdens that he was having, he reportedly had taken out life insurance policies on his kids.
Of course he did.
But it is noted that his kids' insurance policies were both at $30,000 each, whereas himself and his wife, Deneen, their life insurance policies were basically nothing. So now we go back to this was planned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he wanted to kill his children to get the life insurance money to then pay off his debts, which I found to be...
coming into money more like stealing money.
Yeah, I found it to be crazy because I'm like, first of all, I mean, usually wouldn't you go after the spouse, not your own children?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. And so now it comes back to the question of why did he distribute 5 pixie sticks? So,
yeah, especially if the whole motive is to kill your kids so you can get their life insurance policy, already very dark. Why would you not just have 2 pixie sticks directed at the kids? Or even just if you know you're gonna go trick-or-treating with maybe to cover his ass because he knew he was gonna go trick-or-treating with the Bates family. But you also know how many kids the Bates have, right? I would think in theory. Or did he just get 5 randomly and he was like 2 for my kids and 2 if I need to cover my ass? I don't know.
Yeah, it was basically to cover his ass. So he thought, well, if I have 5, that means I'll poison my own children.
Right.
But also to cover my ass so they don't trace it back to me. The
man who was actively asking about cyanide for months before this.
Yeah. He'll give it to Bates' 2 children and then a random kid so that it's hard to track. Quote unquote hard to track. And it's not only
2
his
families
kids.
who are spending the entire Halloween together.
Yeah. Which I will give him that, like, the random person probably threw them off for a little bit because they're like, how did this kid get sick too?
Right. But yeah, like probably for a little bit, but I feel like it's also not a far jump once you see, oh, the Bates kids and the O'Brien kids were sick. Oh, they were together the entire time. So there's some relation to the relevancy of these 2 families. Like the anomaly does stand out, obviously. I feel like when you're given that data of the random kid is random. I don't know. I would think.
Yeah. He thought he was smart. He thought he was sly. He was not sly. And out of the 5 children, I think the other children did get sick, but not to the intensity that Timothy got sick. Yeah, so I think O'Brien's daughter did get sick, but she didn't not die. Yeah, and I think Timothy is the only one that passed away in this case. And so basically the whole thing came down to he murdered his own kids so he could collect the life insurance money and pay off his debt. Which,
like you said, it's just so crazy to me that he went after his kids over his wife.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But O'Brien did go to trial and he had like a lot of conflicting testimony about the pixie sticks. He did not want to take responsibility for making them. He was like, I don't know where they came from. No, the neighbors that we got, like, they were home and they gave us the pixie sticks. Obviously.
Yeah.
No one else from the neighborhood had reported going to that house.
We're assuming that there's other people who are out trick-or-treating, but I feel like that's not a far leap of no one else went to this specific house that happened to give them super expensive pixie sticks. Like, no one else tried to go to this house at all that night and was given anything.
Yeah. And especially after you were running down the street, waving them in the air, saying like, oh, we have rich neighbors. They're giving out the expensive treats. Scene, like, so I feel like if I were a kid and I saw someone like having a full-on pixie stick. I would be like, oh my god, what house was that from?
Yeah,
you know? Yeah, like when I was younger and my friends and I, we would like go around the neighborhood, get all our treats, right?
Yeah.
Then we'd go home and we would switch costumes and then go around again.
You did a double take?
Yeah, because we thought we were sly. And listen, my neighborhood was not that big. So we knew everyone anyway. And so they were just like, okay, like here's another piece of candy.
Nah, you're bold.
They were done with us. But we got a good amount of candy that night.
Fair.
So
now we would do my neighborhood, and then we'd go to the neighborhood right behind us because that's where all the rich people were. So then if we had time, if we hit up all the houses and no one had anything super crazy, then we would go hit up the rich people's houses. But half of them, were usually not home because they were like, nah, I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah.
Which I was like, the fuck you doing?
Give me my candy.
Yeah, I was like, I know you got the big chocolate bars in there, you fuckers. I was so mad.
Yeah. But eventually they found out. Obviously it was him.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be too sly about going around asking about cyanide and like literally talking to everyone about your financial burdens. And like he lined it up.
The part that's like, wild to me is he literally led them like right to him. Like he set the stage for himself. He was talking about the freaking poison. He was talking to anyone about his financial troubles. Like all the possible like motives were literally laid out for the police.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he wasn't the brightest bulb.
He's a dumbass. Just
yeah. So in the end, he was convicted with capital murder and sentenced to death. And I believe it was capital murder because he quote unquote attempted to also kill four other children.
People,
So he ended up on death row and he was executed by lethal injection.
Good.
That was the story of the Candyman, aka the man who unalived Halloween.
That's so crazy. Like this makes so much sense why like now my parents were the way that they were about like, I don't know about you, but it wasn't just my parents too. It was like literally all the parents in my neighborhood, because I knew my neighborhood friends also had similar roles with their parents. So I don't know if this was like our parents were talking to each other sort of a thing and like whose parents started it, but it was just like it was our common knowledge within our neighborhood of our thing of like, like don't eat your candy till you're home till your parents can check it. Don't eat pixie sticks, like by all means don't do that.
Yeah, I don't think that when I was younger and we were trick-or-treating that there was much concern.
Yeah.
Which again, I guess is kind of crazy when you think about Halloween and just like the automatic layer of trust that's just like laid down for when you go trick-or-treating. Mm-hmm. Especially like, have you ever gone trick-or-treating at an open event?
Yeah, like trunk or treats.
Who?
Trunk or treats?
Trunk or treats.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Or okay, this is even wilder than going out to someone's house. Is a bunch of people would drive to a parking lot, park their cars, head in, so the trunk is facing into like the walking areas of the parking lot, the driving lanes, and fill up their trunks with candy, and you go trick-or-treating in a parking lot from people's trunks. A trunk or treat.
The town council said, let me tell you how we can make Halloween better.
Yeah, they were like, let's
she line up
accessibility.
She said, everyone will open up the trunks of their cars.
Yeah, no, literally.
And we will just trust that whatever people are given out
of the trunk of their car, like
is just.
Yeah. Have you seen how people keep their cars too? Like I don't get it.
I literally have a vacuum filled with stale popcorn in the back of my car. What if I give that out to kids?
I'm laughing because I definitely just vacuumed up a bunch of lettuce mochas shredded on the ground yesterday. So our vacuum is filled with lettuce right now. So yeah, like
that is
trunk or treats.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Just the blind faith that we kind of have in people on Halloween is so weird. Because, like you were saying, any other day, we'd be like, if someone offered you any candy, would you take it from them?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you would not.
Yeah.
But on Halloween, fair game.
Yeah. Yeah. You're totally right.
But it's just on another level when it's like the person you're supposed to trust most, the person
your
who's
parent, like that's supposed to be your safe space, your home, like
they're supposed to look out for you.
Like he literally brought his kids onto this earth to take them the fuck out on his means.
Yeah, it's just like crazy because quite honestly, I would think that most people would resort to something else to get money before being like, I'm gonna murder my kids.
I mean, obviously he was unwell because he thought it was fine to have these conversations with strangers and just be like, do you know anything about cyanide and where I can get some of that good cyanide?
Guys,
like,
you have way too much of it. Can I just get like a little bit?
Yeah, like hearing this story in my adult life, it's just crazy to think like how directly I was facing the consequences without thinking about it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I got in my trick-or-treating bag that I wasn't supposed to get was like the chocolate bottle of wine.
Yeah, oh my god, you told me this story. Yeah. Like, tell the audience.
Yeah, when I was younger, we were trick-or-treating around my neighborhood, and when I got home and I was like looking through all my candy and whatnot, I found this little piece of chocolate that was shaped like a wine bottle, and it was wrapped like a wine bottle. And I was like, I don't know what this is.
Did you know it was wine as a kid? Or were you just like, this is shaped like a bottle?
I was like, it's shaped like a bottle. I don't know what this is. Yeah. And I don't remember if my mom was in the room with me when I was like looking through my candy or if I had gone up to her.
And be like, what's this?
Yeah. But somehow it was like, you should not have this. And I was like, why not? And so she actually showed me. She's like, well, if you unwrap it and break it open, she like poured out the wine. Yeah. And she was like, this is for adults. Like, you shouldn't have gotten this. Who gave this to you? Yeah. And it was actually one of the neighbor girls' moms who had gave it to me. And I was like,
wild.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remember who gave it to you. But at the same time, like, if I got something like probably very out of the ordinary as a kid in my trick-or-treat bag, I feel like those houses would leave more of an imprint too. So that also makes sense.
Yeah. Like the houses I remembered were giving me alcohol or giving me raisins, and I was like, I don't like either of these things.
Oh my god.
Both of these things are not it.
Like, any house that gave out raisins, I was like, you have to know this is a terrible option, and yet you still are seeking. Like, I would much rather you just pretend you're not home than give me fucking raisins. Like, just save both of us the time. Don't answer your door. I move on. Don't give me fucking raisins. Yeah. Don't do it.
I hated those houses. Yeah. Like, you've tainted my bag of candy with your raisins.
Check your candy.
Check your
Bottom
candy.
Line, check your candy.
If it looks suspicious, it probably is. And literally, you can buy a whole bag of candy for like a couple $, especially right after Halloween.
I was gonna say November 1st, best time to get chocolate.
Stock up. You can replace all the candy. That seems weird. Yeah. So don't risk it. Stay safe on Halloween.
Don't risk it for that biscuit.
That's all I had.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
If you want to support us at all, go and watch us on our YouTube channel, like and follow us on our
many other platforms. Yeah. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the YouTubes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Leave us comments and reviews on our Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Yeah. That would really help us out. All righty.
As we come up on midnight. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.